I don't know if you guys heard, but Jake Paul is boxing Ben Askren this weekend. It's all the news, and we're breaking down that fight and giving predictions right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple of months, there's two very famous, popular guys, Jake Paul and Ben Askren, that have been going back and forth, and this is all going to come to a fever pitch when they engage in a boxing match this Saturday night on Triller Fight Club. So, very interesting fight, to say the least.
Yeah, YouTube boxing is back in our lives once again, and it's one of those things I think we're going to have to get used to, because I hear there's more cards. There's TikToker versus YouTube fight cards happening, and maybe they're going under Triller's banner or maybe they're not. But and you know what? I will give credit to Triller because their productions are pretty well done, and they seem to actually have it moving on well. I can't get into the music thing on the fight cards. I feel like it takes up way too much time, but we don't need to talk about that during the video. We're here to talk about the main event, which is a bizarre matchup between Ben Askren and Jake Paul, which is just fascinating to me because it's gotten so much steam and it's become such a big fight. As far as boxing fans, I don't know if people are really all that into it. Because they don't know Ben Askren and they don't care about Jake Paul. But MMA fans and even some of the casuals know who Ben Askren is.
Sure.
And obviously they know what Jorge Masvidal did, and that was kind of huge and that blew up. But everybody now has kind of taken the side against Jake Paul, and whether you're voting for him to win or voting for him to lose, you probably don't really like him all that much. But it's a very interesting matchup, and unfortunately, I find myself a little bit more compelled by it as the days go by. I kind of look at it like a surgery. Like there's a date coming up this weekend. You got to get it done. Let's at least just get it over with, right?
Yeah, try not to think about it until it comes up. But you know what? And I will give credit to Triller Fight Club. They did put on a great production. Yeah. They're doing a nice hybrid. We just saw the One Championship, how they did a hybrid of MMA fights with Muay Thai fights. They do Dutch kickboxing. Now they're about to bring in some grappling. So I do kind of like these cards where you see a real boxing match in the sense that you have two really high-level boxers fighting on the undercard. Just so happens to be somebody who trains at our gym, Regis Prograis, in the co-main event. He's as real as they get. If you're a boxing fan, you absolutely know who he is. Right. You know, world champion caliber. And then for the main event, you have something that's a little bit more fun, circus-oriented, but it's still going to be a fun fight nonetheless. So you get a nice mix. I'm with you. I can't get behind the whole music thing. I think it just takes up too much time.
It takes way too much time. And, you know, they have a thing with too much commentary and too much stuff in between the fights, and maybe that's a good thing. That'll work out, because when you watch the co-main event with Regis in it and you see the high level of boxing in there, if they were to throw Jake Paul and Ben Askren in there 2 minutes later, you would be blown away at the contrast of skills in boxing. Or
it's almost like a sorbet at a fancy restaurant in between courses, so you can cleanse your palate for the disaster that's about to happen compared to the fight that just happened. But what I like about it, and Regis was mentioning this in the press conference, is that you're going to see if you tune in and buy this fight and you presumably don't just watch the main event, but you watch the whole card, you're going to see some real high-level world caliber boxing on this card. And I think that's good. I think people that are going to buy this fight because they know who Jake Paul is, they're Jake Paulers or whatever his fan base calls themselves, are going to see what real boxing looks like. They're going to see real world champions, and then they're going to get to cheer for their guy that they like, and I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and you know, everybody can relate to the fighting, the storyline that goes with fighting, or, you know, anybody that's had to struggle through something or fight through something. That's why the Rocky series always did so well, and, you know, that's why people do relate to fighting. And it even though I don't like the fact that everybody from TikTokers to YouTubers and every athlete in between, even the local guy at the bar, thinks that they can fight or have this fight or flight instinct in them that they were just born with. Yeah. It's a sport, it's a skill that you have to acquire and you have to learn over a long period of time, just like anything else. But for some reason, everybody thinks fighting is like embedded in them, and it's just not. But it seems to grab a lot of people, and that's why I don't think fighters like Regis and some of the other guys that get put on these Triller events with these really famous YouTubers are all that upset about it, because they do understand all the new eyes that are going to be watching them, that they could turn into fans. This is your opportunity as an up-and-coming boxer, guy who struggled in the gym for 10, 15, 20 years growing up and going through tournaments, amateur, and then becoming a pro, and now being a high-level pro. Now's your chance to in front of millions and millions of people to create fans. So I'm happy in that regard. I do think it's funny that you get the least skilled boxers at the top of the bill, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and they want the biggest stars coming out last, so the pressure's all on them.
For sure, and there's competition to be had at every level. You know, if you go to a jiu-jitsu tournament or even a Golden Gloves boxing tournament, you have different classes. The people who have fought 1 to 5 times, the people who have fought 5 to 10, so on and so forth. And then you have the premier categories. In jiu-jitsu, it's done by belt. You can have white belts against white belts, blues against blues, all the way up to the black belt open weight division. Right. So you do have the ability to compete. You don't need to be at the top of any one sport to compete in that sport.
Right.
And Jake Paul is competing against a guy who at least the odds makers think is a similar percentage of chance to win in Ben Askren. Ben Askren, obviously a certainly far more decorated athlete than Jake Paul is. He was an Olympian. He was an MMA champion. He was a college All-American. The guy knows how to win, and he knows how to win at sports, especially fight sports. Albeit not the best boxing. Jake Paul possesses probably a little bit better boxing skill than Ben Askren, but not nearly the athletic experience or cage or ring experience or whatever you want to call it that Ben Askren. So I think it makes for a pretty fair, even matchup. Who are you picking to win this fight?
Well, it's weird, and I don't want the MMA community to come after me on this, but you know, I've watched, and all I've been given access to is the footage that these guys are putting out, and we don't know how doctored it is, or you know, both of them are kind of trolls, so we don't know if they're putting out worse content than they actually are doing in the gym, or you don't really know if they're showing their absolute best footage that they're getting. You know, they have their camera guys show them the footage that they got for the day, and they go, man, that looks really good, let's post that. Or if they get, you know, Ben Askren, I could just as well see him going, oh man, look at how bad I look right here, let's post that. And it's kind of like a form of sandbagging, trolling. It's fun. And it definitely would skew the voting and the odds and stuff like that. But I kind of just feel like Ben, you know, he had hip surgery after he retired from the UFC, and he wasn't really hankering to compete. He kind of got called out, and he's not a guy that's going to turn away from a competition. He's a certified tough guy. He's a certified badass. And you know, he has this pestering YouTuber chomping at him and chirping at him and everything. And I feel like he just decided to take this, A, for the great payday, but B, just to try to shut this guy up. I do think, however, it'll be a little bit tougher for him to shut him up than he would like for it to be. And I think I am going to go with Jake Paul.
Do you think Jake's going to finish Askren, or do you think it's going to go all 8 rounds?
See, and that would be a question that I could answer much more easily if I knew if they were trolling with the footage or not. You know, I see some of the footage of Jake Paul, and he's clearly putting out the best work possible. Yeah. But then you look at the people he's sparring against, and while he tells you he's sparring professional boxers all the time, he's also sparring a lot of other YouTubers and TikTok, and all the footage is him, you know, knocking people and crumbling them down to the ground at his gym in his house or in the ring in his backyard. And there are these TikTokers and stuff where he's just hitting them with one good shot and knocking them down. They've never been punched in the face before. Ben Askren has. So it's hard for me to say. I do feel like it's going to be a long, drawn-out fight. I think Ben's going to be smart with his defense. I do also see Ben taking this less as a boxing match and much more as a competition, much more as a fight.
Right.
And I guess I'll probably see it going all, is it 8 rounds?
8 rounds.
That's a long time for both of these fellas. But I think they're both going to slow down at around the same rate. And we're going to see some pretty sluggish rounds come 4 through 8. But we might see some exciting lack of skill fireworks from rounds 1 through 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go against you here. I'm going to pick Ben Askren to win this fight. Jake Paul, he's obviously working on his boxing skill, and he's coming along. He looked good against Nate Robinson, but who is Nate Robinson? He's an NBA player. He looked good against other YouTubers, but they are just that, other YouTubers. As you know, we're in the gym every day. We see pro boxers in there every day, people that compete at high levels. From the footage that I've seen of Jake Paul and what I've seen him do in the ring, he would not be knocking those people out. If he sparred the people that come and train in our gym, even guys that are 7-0, 10-0,
amateurs,
that are substantially lighter than him, he would be the one getting knocked out if it was a realistic situation. So I don't put much stock into the fact that, Jake Paul's knocking out pro boxers. You might be able to get that over on somebody who doesn't know better, but I was born in the morning and it wasn't this morning.
Yeah. And also, to your point, Nate Robinson, when everybody was going, oh, man, he's training for this fight, the second we saw him, rush in against Jake Paul and basically had his eyes closed and he was throwing punches like a helicopter flies its thing, we go, oh, he's never sparred before. He's never actually done this before. And it doesn't take a very sophisticated eye to know that. But if you've never been in a boxing gym or if you've never seen somebody spar and then you see that, you might not notice it. But anybody that knows a little bit about fighting sees that and they go, oh, Nate Robinson, they need to stop this fight now because he's going to get seriously hurt. And that's exactly what happened.
The first time he got hit in the face was in that fight. I can tell you the first 30 seconds, I knew that. I said, Robinson has done no sparring.
Yeah.
Because when you spar, that's where you train your eyes. And that's the thing. It's always the balance. How much do you spar? Because you take damage in sparring. And then how hard do you spar? Because can you be effective in timing and range and your vision with 70%, 50% and take a lot more damage? I think that you can, but you do have to get a lot of sparring. You have to see punches coming at your face. It's not natural for somebody to punch at your face or punch you in the face and you to keep your eyes open and keep looking forward to them. That's something that has to be trained, and it has to be trained through sparring. And this is why I'm picking Askren to win this fight, because what punches hurt Nate Robinson? It was the punches he didn't see.
Yeah.
It's always the punch that you don't see that knocks you out. Ben Askren's going to see every one of these punches. Ben Askren is not afraid to get hit.
Yeah.
Ben Askren has been kneed unconscious by Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah.
Ben Askren has been punched in the face by Robbie Lawler, a former UFC world champion.
Yeah.
He has been punched in the face by people that punch a hell of a lot harder than Jake Paul, wearing gloves that are a hell of a lot smaller than the ones that Jake Paul is going to be wearing on April 17th. And so what I think Ben is going to do is he's going to make this a dogfight. Jake wants to keep this fight at range. He's taller.
He wants to
He's
showcase
bigger.
that boxing
He
skill.
wants to showcase his boxing skills. He wants to land 1-2s. He wants to attack the body. Askren's not going to let him do that. Askren's going to close that distance, and he's going to weigh on him. Askren's a great wrestler. If you've never wrestled with a wrestler, you've never felt the pressure. Askren's going to be pulling on that neck, tugging on his arm, underhooking him, making him tired, and it's going to... Jake Paul seems to me, at least at the press conference and some of the videos I've seen on YouTube, he's the kind of person that you can get out of sorts very quickly.
He's a head case.
He's a head case. I think Ben Askren is going to be able to get him out of sorts within the first couple of rounds, and he's going to see the shots coming. He's going to protect himself. He's going to make this fight happen at a range that Jake Paul doesn't want it to happen at, and for that reason, I'm picking Ben to just grind out a unanimous decision victory.
Yeah, he's going to infuriate Jake Paul.
No question.
And Jake's going to, complain, and he's going to be cussing. He's going to be angry. I'll tell you, one person that's going to have their hands full is the referee. He's going to be breaking these guys
He's the real
up.
MVP, as Kevin Durant would say.
Yeah, he's the real MVP. He's going to be burning more calories maybe than both of the fighters in there because he's going to have to separate them. My guess is somewhere in the 10 to 12 times per round, starting at the very beginning. And Jake is going to, at the very beginning, try to keep it nice and long, keep the fight long, and showcase what boxing skills he does have. But I think you're right. Ben is going to start to close the distance on him, make it annoying, get inside. There might be some low blows. There might be some rabbit punches towards the side of the head where Jake's going to think and then he might retaliate when they're inside, and that could lead to points being taken away. I see this being a very ugly, ugly matchup. While my heart wants me to cheer for Ben Askren, I'm trying to get my wins and losses on the predicting fights thing back in order. And for some reason, based off of the footage I've seen alone, I am going to go with Jake Paul still.
So I was convincing, but not enough.
Yes, for sure.
I think that Ben, he's been there. I mean, the guy's been in the Olympics. The guy's been in the biggest stages of the world of combat sports, competing. He's beaten some of the best. I don't care that his boxing's not as good. Jake Paul's never been on. Jake Paul is more famous than Ben Askren, but he's never been on a stage of combat sports as big as he's about to be on.
Yeah.
And Ben Askren knows how to play the troll part. If you haven't seen that Rocky IV compilation video that he did, the spinoff, hilarious.
Yeah.
Ben Askren is the perfect dance partner in this situation because Ben Askren knows that Paul's trolling and he knows how to troll himself. So you have the battle of the trolls. And I think that's what's making it fun. That's what's making it exciting for me.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I haven't really been crazy excited about YouTube fights in the past. I watch them because they're fun, and I think that I truly am a believer that anybody who wants to compete in something that dedicates time to it, even if I don't care for Jake Paul's content that he puts out or really like him personally, I do respect the dedication. He is in the gym, he is training, and he deserves to compete if he wants to compete. Combat sports are here for everybody, no matter what part of the world you live in. That's the beautiful thing about combat sports, is that no matter who you are, if you put the work in, you can compete, and the more work you put in, the higher you rise.
Right. There's low-level competitions happening in all the cities in America. You know, you go to your local YMCA, you see a Golden Gloves tournament, amateur boxing taking place, and being famous shouldn't exempt you from competing in something that you want to compete in. And Jake Paul, while he's famous and while he's able to pull fights and try call out people that are completely unattainable for anybody else that's an amateur or an extreme novice to get the fight with, he's able to at least get the attention of the masses. And while, you know, he's not getting the Conor McGregors or the people like that he's calling out, you know, he's able to pull somebody like a Ben Askren. And one thing I would do if I was Jake Paul is I would mature a little bit and thank Ben Askren for what he's doing, because while a lot of people, everybody else so far, and I'm saying this because I followed the other YouTube fighting series and stuff, is nobody else helped promote or sell these fights. I can't give you the names of the fighters that Jake Paul fought or Logan Paul fought in their other boxing matches, because they did no promotion either.
Right.
Jake Paul is a big name. He does some viral things that everybody's Instagram feed gets notice of, and then they see it, and then Ben Askren is doing this. He goes, okay, you're promoting this fight. You're going viral. Watch this. I'm going to promote the fight to go viral. We're going to make this thing an absolute spectacle. It's going to be a hell of an event. And that, for me, is something that was really cool of Ben Askren to do. And I don't think that Jake Paul even realizes that yet. But as he matures and as he realizes this fight's getting closer, and after it's over, then he's going to go, you know what? I'm glad I had Ben Askren as a business partner in this venture, because it was actually it worked out in my favor.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He's the perfect dance partner.
Yeah.
And Jake Paul has to continue to fight harder competition, because he's now got an undefeated boxing record with several knockouts. The better his record gets, the harder it's going to be to find opponents, because the commissions aren't going to say, okay, you're now 6-0 with 5 knockouts. You're not fighting another YouTuber. And so he's going to have to keep doing creative things like fighting people like Ben Askren. That they will sanction the fight because they know that Ben knows how to protect himself.
Right. And, you know, when you get into fighting, you want to fight to win. You want to compete against the best and win, right? But you don't want to just go beat people up, because then that makes you a bully. So Jake Paul should really go away from the bully mentality of, I want to go cherry pick easy fights. And if you consider yourself a real boxer, then, hey, start competing against real fighters. They can be MMA fighters if you want them to be. They can even be legit tough guys that are on YouTube. Just make sure you're not bullying people, because there's a fine line between wanting to win fights and beat people up and being a bully. And I feel like Jake Paul, if he continues down the road that he was down, he would start to look just like a bully and like a punk. But now that he's taking on real athletes, I can definitely get behind that.
I think you're absolutely right. Well, guys, that's it. So Nick picks Jake the Problem Child Paul to win this fight. I think Ben Askren, the experience, the fact that he's won multiple world championships, he's been to the Olympics, that's going to carry him over the edge. I think he's going to win a unanimous decision. What do you guys think? We love engaging with you all in the comments. We really appreciate it, guys. We mostly talk about MMA, high-level UFC fights, Bellator fights, one championship fights on this channel, but we do talk about the occasional boxing match and the occasional YouTube boxing match if it's big enough to cover, and this one certainly is. So we appreciate you guys watching. And if you've enjoyed, please subscribe to our channel and like and comment, and check us out on audio where you listen to those podcasts. Have a great day.